Honourable Member for Don Valley East.
Time with the member for Winnipeg Centre. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take the time today to talk about the government's budget 2017 and specifically the historic investments in infrastructure. In Budget 2016, we had invested the first tranche of funds for infrastructure to support the repair of our aging pipes and roads, the buildings and refurbishing of affordable housing, the upgrading of public transit, and the improvement of Indigenous communities. With the fall economic statement, we built on these efforts by targeting public transit, green and social infrastructure, as well as protection in northern and rural communities and the ones that help facilitate trade. The total federal investment in infrastructure now tops $180 billion over 12 years. These infrastructure investments, Mr. Speaker, will help ensure a cleaner environment for our children and grandchildren while serving as a driver of economic growth. Mr. Speaker, the 2016 infrastructure investments are already making a difference in communities across Canada. And in my riding of Don Valley East, we have benefited in the areas of repairs to the housing stock, in bike lanes and walking trails. And with Budget 2017, we plan to do even more. We plan to invest in faster, more efficient public transit system that will help people get to work on time and at the end of the long day back home faster to their families. In my riding and in many urban ridings, constituents tell us that this is very important to them. In our budget consultation processes, that is what constituents told us, that they want better infrastructure, that the commuting times were taking away from their productivity. As well, in our consultation, we heard about cleaner sources of energy. So our budget is helping build communities that are cleaner and less reliant on sources of energy that pollute the air, harm the environment, and compromise our health. Constituents who suffer from asthma and other breathing issues are thankful that our government is so keen on cleaning the environment. Mr. Speaker, hard-working Canadians also need decent, affordable places to live. And I am glad our government listened to the people and is investing $11.2 billion in this area. In the area of clean growth and economy, I'd like to expound some things. Canadians understand that a clean environment and a strong economy go hand in hand, and the government agrees. And that is why our government is further investing $21.9 billion in green infrastructure. This on top of the $5 billion it has invested in the previous budget. The investment of $21.9 billion in green infrastructure will support the implementation of the Pan-Canadian Framework on Clean Growth and Climate Change. We will support projects that reduce greenhouse gas emission, deliver clean water, safely manage wastewater, help communities prepare for challenges that result from climate change, and help build cleaner, better connected electricity system. This is welcome news to my young constituents who are focusing their sights on jobs of the future. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to talk about how social infrastructure can help transform communities and can help overcome socio-economic barriers to a truly inclusive society. From early learning and childcare for our children in their first years, to home care that supports us in our final years, social infrastructure helps Canadians at every stage of their lives. Building on an initial investment of $3.4 billion over 5 years announced 1 year ago, The government will invest $21.9 billion over 11 years to support social infrastructure in Canadian communities, including early learning and childcare, affordable housing, cultural and recreation infrastructure, and home care. In my riding of Don Valley East, there are many families that have to choose between one parent working or both parents working. And if both parents are working, they have to look for affordable childcare. Childcare spaces are expensive or unavailable. The question is of supply and demand. I am very proud that the budget 2017 provides $7 billion over 10 years towards the creation of childcare spaces. This will greatly help not only my constituents, but Canadians who are aiming to join the middle class. The investment of $7 billion is over and above the investment we made in 2016. The government will work in cooperation with provinces, territories, and Indigenous partners to provide help to families most in need. A portion of the investment will be dedicated to improve access to culturally appropriate early learning and childcare programs for Indigenous children, both on and off reserve. Finally, Mr. Speaker, safe, affordable housing is a cornerstone of sustainable, inclusive communities and a prerequisite to middle-class prosperity. Yet too many Canadian households struggle to find affordable housing. To address this challenge, Budget 2016 invested $2.2 billion over 2 years, starting in 2016 and 17 in the affordable housing sector. We also provided funding for low-cost loans and new financing tools to encourage municipalities, housing developers, and not-for-profit housing providers to develop more affordable rental housing units. And we launched nationwide consultation on a new inclusive national housing strategy to help guide the way forward. Thanks to the overwhelming participation of provinces, territories, Indigenous and other community stakeholders and public over the past several months, we will now commit more than $11.2 billion over 11 years to a variety of initiatives designed to build, renew, and repair Canada's stock of affordable housing. This investment is a blessing for the constituents in my riding. We have seen the affordable housing stocks shrink. We have seen it in dire need of repair and renewal. Many Canadians in urban centre know how difficult it is to buy or rent properties. Our strategy will provide a roadmap for governments and housing providers across the country. As housing needs vary greatly by community, the government is committed to working with the provinces and territories to ensure that the unique needs of communities all across Canada can be met. Mr. Speaker, the unprecedented investment in infrastructure that we are making in Budget 2017 is about more than improving public transit and repairing aging roads and sewer systems. It is also about building better communities by providing Canadians with cleaner water to drink and cleaner air to breathe, and by increasing access to childcare, affordable housing, and other key social infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, our budget will strengthen and grow the middle class. Our 2016 investments have already created good, well-paying jobs to the tune of 250,000 jobs, and this ensures that we have a burgeoning middle class. The trajectory is positive. If we wish to be economic engines, we need to be an inclusive growth strategy, and that is what Budget 2017 is doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Qu'est-ce que commentaire?